So not long ago, I decided to go fishing down by my house at a river I hadn't fished in before. It's in a patch of woods right next to a park that's known for having a lot of homeless people camping out there. I'd been meaning to check it out for a while, so I figured now was as good of a time as any. I walked along the riverbank looking for a good spot. After a few minutes of searching, I came across this huge camp tucked away in the trees. It was some kind of big hut made from sticks, and it was packed with empty liquor bottles. I didn't want to get too close, but as I walked by, I noticed a little Spider-Man fishing pole lying in the dirt and a hatchet leaning against one of the logs. When I walked by, I didn't see any homeless people around, and I kept going to find a better spot further down the river. Eventually, I found a good place to fish. The river's pretty quiet there, and I thought I could sit for a while. The fishing was slow, so I ended up just propping my pole up against a tree and started looking around. After a few minutes, I caught movement out of the corner of my eye. When I turned my head, I saw a guy walking slowly towards me. At first, I thought he might be another fisherman or someone out for a walk, but then I saw what he was holding. It was the hatchet I had seen earlier from the homeless camp. The guy was wearing a long black coat, even though it wasn't that cold out, and he had a scraggly gray beard. I thought about what I should do, but all I had on me was a little 3-inch gutting and cleaning knife. I wasn't going to stand a chance if it came down to a fight with that tiny knife against a hatchet. The guy kept coming towards me, moving slow and steady, and he didn't seem friendly at all. I felt like my legs were made of lead, but I managed to stumble over to my tackle box and start shoving my gear inside as fast as I could. I grabbed everything, shoved it into the box, and started backing away, trying to keep the guy in my sight. I could hear him yelling something, but it was all garbled. It sounded like he was shouting at me, but I wasn't about to stop and listen. As I turned and started running, I heard him scream something again, but I didn't wait around. I wasn't about to give him a reason to come after me. I ran all the way back to the main road, and by the time I hit the pavement, I didn't stop until I got to my car. I've never gone back to fish there since. I think most likely the man was just trying to scare me off, since he probably fished there and viewed it as his personal fishing area. I don't blame the guy since he might be sustaining himself from the fish he catches if he's desperate. However, desperate people do desperate things, and I wasn't going to stick around as a homeless guy approached me screaming with a hatchet. I am an avid fisherman, and I love going for catfish. I also love to fish at night when it's peaceful and quiet. I tend to stay out extremely late on non-work nights, so that leads me to why I was at a lake at night, experiencing what I did. I forget what day of the week it was, but I was alone. My girlfriend at the time didn't want to come with, and I couldn't convince anyone else to come with me either. So I grabbed my gear and my gun and went to fish for a few hours on my own. It was going well, and I got a few catfish, but while I was fishing, I kept hearing talking, yet I couldn't see anyone. I figured maybe they were just walking down the road, and I paid it no mind. Fast forward a few hours, and I heard a whistle. The lake I was at is a city lake, and it has walking paths that are well lit. I looked around, but I didn't see or hear anything further. I resumed fishing, and then I heard another whistle, this time to my right. I was thinking to myself that it was probably some kids, but this was an attention-seeking whistle, like one that someone would do if they wanted your attention. Again, I didn't see or hear anything, so I went back to fishing. I heard a third whistle, this time from behind me, and I'd had enough now, so I decided to go investigate this time. I put my hand on my gun, and I quietly walked around the building nearby. Nothing was there, and I didn't hear anyone else as well. This seems impossible that I wouldn't hear someone walking around, since there's gravel everywhere, but as I turned around to walk back, directly behind me I heard a very loud and shrill whistle. It sounded close enough and loud enough to make me flip around and draw my gun, but still nothing was there. My heart was pounding at this point, so I grabbed my stuff and booked it to my car. Fast forward a week later when I was with a friend and I went to the same lake. I had already put the whistling from the previous solo trip out of my mind. We started fishing and we were having a decent time. As I looked around throughout the night, I kept noticing shadows in the trees across the lake. It almost looked like something was running near the lights and jumping around. I didn't think much of it and figured that the night was playing tricks on me. My friend, who didn't tell me until later that night, also observed the exact same thing. It was getting close to 3 a.m. now and we heard some people chatting. We couldn't see anyone, which was odd because the lake is kind of like a pit with roads all around, and it's impossible not to see someone walking by. We were kind of sketched out, but we kept fishing because it was going well. Around 3:15 a.m., I began to hear birds tweeting. I turned to my friend and said, "You hear birds chirping? Kind of odd for 3 a.m." He looked around, kind of looking paranoid, and then 5 to 10 minutes later he said, "Those aren't birds chirping, someone's mimicking them." I looked at my friend, kind of strange, and then he went on to tell me a story his coworker had told him. It was about incidents of people dying here, and why the city doesn't let anyone swim in the lake now. As soon as he finished his story saying that people have died at the lake, the crickets stopped, and the wind died down immediately, and the fish stopped biting completely. We looked at each other and asked if we felt strange, and we both agreed that we should pack it up and head out. As we were leaving, the tweeting started back up again, and we quickly went back to the car. My friend suddenly flipped around with his knife drawn, and I instinctively pulled my gun. He yelled that we needed to leave now, and we scrambled to the car and drove off. Once we were on the road, I asked my friend why he pulled his knife like that, and he stated that something was running behind him like it was charging at the both of us. I have no idea what's up with that lake, and what happened those 2 nights that I was there, but even thinking about it gives me the chills. That night really scared me badly. Something wasn't right, and we both knew it. I was fishing at this quiet lake up north one morning. It was about 5 a.m., still dark out, and I was getting in an early session before work that day. I liked fishing at this spot because it was always so calm. Nobody was around, just the sound of water and birds waking up. There was a shower facility by the lake, mostly for people camping or staying nearby, and I usually used it to take a shower after fishing before heading out for work. As I walked over to the building, I noticed someone was already inside one of the individual stalls. The door was cracked and I could hear the water running. I didn't think much of it, and I figured maybe someone was just getting an early start too. But when I got closer, I saw something that made me stop in my tracks. There was a man, and he was standing just outside the shower area. He was sort of leaning against the wall, wiping his hands off on his clothes. I didn't think much of it at first, but then I saw the blood. There was blood on his shirt and his hands. It was like he had been in some kind of a mess. And it wasn't just a little, there was a lot of it soaked through his clothes. He didn't seem to notice me at first, and I wasn't sure what to do. Should I ask if he needed help? Maybe he was hurt, or also a fisherman, and had been gutting fish and it got messy. He didn't act strange though. He just walked over to the shower area like it was completely normal. The only thing strange he did was stare me down as he walked in and shut the door behind him to his stall. I had wanted to ask him if he was alright, but that stare down had stopped me from saying anything. It was like a death stare. I figured, okay, maybe I'm overthinking it. People get weird sometimes, maybe it's just a weird coincidence. I went into a stall to take a quick shower and tried to shake it off, but I couldn't stop thinking about that guy and how he had gotten so bloody. When I finished my shower, the man was already gone. About 20 minutes later, when I was packing up my gear to leave, I noticed a couple of cars pulling in. 2 guys got out, both wearing FBI jackets. They didn't look like the usual cops you see around. These guys looked serious, like they were there for something big. One of the agents came over to me and asked if I had seen anyone around the shower facility that morning or lake that morning. I told him about the man I had seen, described what he looked like, and mentioned the blood. He didn't seem too surprised, but he asked a lot of questions. Before the cops, investigators, or whoever they were left, I asked really quick what was going on. They told me that the guy they were looking for who I saw had killed his wife, daughter, and his daughter's friend who had been staying over. They had found the bodies in their house earlier that morning after a disturbance phone call from a neighbor, and had been looking for that guy for a few hours now. It still blows my mind. It was so normal the way he acted, like nothing was wrong. I would have never guessed that I'd end up in the middle of something like that. I just can't shake the image of him standing there covered in his family's blood like it was no big deal.